Welcome back. It's the DAZN Boxing Show. I go with the name of Ak.
And I'm Barack the Boxing Bully.
Hope everybody enjoyed their holiday weekend. Thanks for joining us. A lot to talk about. Heavyweight showdown, in my opinion. Barack lived up to the hype, and I'm talking about Andy Ruiz versus Luis Ortiz here on the opening bell. Barack, first thing I want to say is kudos to a guy by the name of Luis Ortiz that some people guess his age. Reportedly, it's 43. Some think it's a lot older. Who knows? We don't really know the truth of that. We do know that this is a boxer that has always been willing to fight everybody and anybody. And he got in the ring with the young former unified champ, Andy Ruiz. People talk about the way his body looks, but his hand speeds and skills are up to par. And we knew going into this fight, at least I did, Barack, that there was some shakiness going on with Ortiz. If you look back at the fight with Charles Martin, it wasn't easy on his feet. He got hurt several times in that fight, dropped several times. So when he first landed the big shot against Ortiz and he went down, I'm not gonna lie to you, Barack, I thought it was the beginning of the end, and he impressed me with what he did after that.
I didn't think that the first time he got knocked down. And I know his style. I know his style to try to not look like he's hurt, to not really even run, but to actually go after you and use his jab. I thought he was done after the third knockdown. I believe that happened in the 7th round, because the way he fell, dropped to his knees and then slumped over, was the same way he fell against Deontay Wilder in the second fight. So I thought, wow, that's it. It's over. But it just goes to show the resiliency of Luis Ortiz. But one thing I noticed is that off-balance style he had against Charles Martin, I didn't see that. Maybe his resistance is not great anymore. Maybe because he took shots from Deontay Wilder, during those first 2 fights, and he stood up after some of those shots. So maybe his resistance is not the same anymore. But when you're talking about skill, the man has exceptional skill. And that's what I said before the fight. The man was able to keep Ruiz at bay. There was one round where Ruiz landed 1 punch. And I think he only threw 9. And I don't know why. I just think it was the good offense of Luis Ortiz. I think he hits hard enough to keep every fighter a little honest, and he's crafty enough to keep you off balance and keep you resetting.
And I don't want to take away from Andy's win. Congratulations to him on fighting such a skilled fighter and coming up with the win. I thought the fight was very close. We all know that in that first, those 2 knockdowns, the second knockdown wasn't really a valid knockdown. It wasn't hit. It was more of a push and a slip. He didn't land a punch. So that round, that was 10-7. If I'm not mistaken, that was the second round, Barack. And it was a 10-7 round. And I don't think Ruiz deserved that 10-7 round, 10-8, because he did score a big knockout. And that played a little part in the scorecards, but it still wouldn't have gave Ortiz the win.
Right.
But the fact that he did go after being hurt several times in that fight and finish the way he did, finish strong in that fight the way he did in the 12th round, and 1 rounds later on in the fight, the fight was pretty close. Honestly, if it would have been a draw, I don't think anybody would have complained about that. But we know that Andy's a younger fighter. There's a potential fight with Deontay Wilder. They're both from the same stable, and Deontay has a fight in front of him against Helenius, but that seems like it would be the natural progression. Maybe Andy Ruiz versus Deontay Wilder early next year. So there's a lot for him to lose. And look, there's no question about it. Andy has skills, fast hands. He's a great counter puncher. He loves staying in the pocket. If you get close enough to him, he's going to land some shots. He's going to counter. So he throws with guys. So guys that are a lot longer than him, it's best to stay away from him, and which Ortiz was doing at times, Brock, when he was moving around, landing that jab, and once in a blue, he'll drop the left hand, and then he'll wait for that counter. A lot of times Ortiz waited for that counter and blocked it. And again, this is not an Ortiz show. I'm just breaking down. Again, I'm just breaking down
Sounds like
how good of a fighter he is. And it's a testament to why a lot of guys didn't want to fight him. And credit to Deontay for fighting him twice. But moving on to Andy, what's next for Andy? There are a lot of fights out there in the heavyweight division, but there's one fight that I'm most excited about if I was a matchmaker, Barack, if I wanted to make a match. We all know the Deontay fight sounds great, but there's another guy on the PBC side who's a bit shorter than Deontay. Very explosive, like Andy Ruiz. Very skilled, and he's Cuban. And no, it's not Ortiz, but it's the Flash. That's right. Frank Sanchez is a perfect matchup for Andy Ruiz. In my opinion, that's the fight that needs to be made next. I know Deontay has a fight ahead of him coming up soon, but he's going to need some time after that if he takes care of business with Hellenius. You know, these big superstars, they fight twice a year. So I think if Andy wants to get right back out there, maybe possibly in December, why not against Frank Sanchez, who is chasing and wants all the big fights?
Another Cuban. I never thought about that fight. That's interesting. I'm looking forward to, you know, Deontay Wilder fight. Should he get past Hellenius, I'd like to see that fight, maybe even in New York. That would be a good fight. Another Cuban, this time not 10 years older than you, but actually younger than you. Very, very skillful, can move as well. I think Frank Sanchez is a tough fight for anybody. I don't want to compare it to Luis Ortiz because Luis Ortiz is very, very crafty. He's left-handed. I mean, even the judges thought that was a close fight. Two of the judges scored it 114 to 111. That's saying that each fighter won 6 rounds. And the other judge actually gave 7 rounds to Ortiz. So he was saved, just like Sean Porter said on a broadcast. He was kind of saved by those knockdowns, you know, and it would take Ortiz to win at more than 8 rounds in order to win, you know. So it was a tough fight, and it would take him to win 8 rounds to win that. It was a tough fight, and I think Frank Sanchez would be even tougher for him with young legs and the boxing ability he has and the pop he has as well.
Yeah, I mean, and as far as Luis Ortiz, I think the way he finished that fight towards the end will probably earn him another payday, another fight with somebody. Maybe he goes in there with his fellow countryman, Frank Sanchez, who knows? But he finished strong, but I'm not sure if he can compete at the level to compete with the big names in the sport, the Joshuas, the Furies, and the Usyks of the world.
I think he can compete with everybody. It's just that compete, 43, like, should you?
Is it going to be a competitive fight throughout the fight? Is it going to be a fight
I think
where the odds are going to be close? No, he's going to be
this one was
underdog.
close. This one was close. He won 7 rounds.
But because he was dropped several times from a guy that's a lot smaller, though he's heavy-handed and fast-handed.
Smaller but heavier. Smaller but heavier.
Right. But you wouldn't call him, you know, a Deontay Wilder, a Fury, or a Joshua in terms of being heavy-handed and big. I just don't see how Ortiz will be able to withstand the power of any of those guys over there. No disrespect to him.
I can't believe the day came that you called Tyson Fury heavy-handed.
He's heavy-handed. He's a heavy guy.
No, I know that he is now.
But listen, moving forward, I like.
This is twice we moving forward now.
I know, right? Let's move a little bit more forward, all right? Andy Ruiz would like to see him against Frank Sanchez. If that's not the fight that happens, then hopefully it's Deontay Wilder. Listen, also this weekend there's a trilogy that's about to happen because one guy took care of business in a very, very close fight. That's right. That's Juan Francisco Estrada. So guess what we're going to see? Chocolatito Estrada 3. That fight is going to go down. It was a super entertaining fight. Look, Estrada struggled in that fight. He was fighting somebody that was coming to win, Barack. I mean, it was a toss-up. You know, there were some people on social media saying that maybe he shouldn't have got the nod. But guess what? He did. And the fight that we've been waiting for is set. I'm excited, Barack.
I think we all kind of, including Juan Estrada, even though fighters don't admit it, probably we all underestimated Argy Cortez, you know, because he actually hasn't fought anybody. You know, he hasn't really fought any winners. You know, so we didn't know he was going to come in there. Well, we know he's going to be younger, but we didn't know he was going to come in there and give Juan Estrada such a big test. You know what I mean? So, I mean, he almost won the fight. You know, he was around.
Felt he did.
Yeah, he was a round away from winning that fight. You know, one
Barack,
judge had.
I ask you this though, with the performance that you saw by Estrada this past weekend.
Yeah.
How do you think he fares against the last version of Chocolatito Gonzalez that we saw
See,
in the ring?
That's a tricky question because I don't think you're going to get the same Juan Estrada back in the ring with Roman Gonzalez. I think he's going to train different. He's going to train harder. He's going to come in a different mindset. He's going to fight better. And that's just it. Sometimes fighters fight to the level of their opposition. And it's hard to get up for a fighter that you know you're really looking past him. It's hard. You know what I mean? So, okay, if you just want to say.
Hold on. It's hard for some fighters. Not guys like Floyd Mayweather, not guys like Andre Ward. Those guys get up for everybody.
Those guys are special.
I don't want to give these guys an excuse when they don't look good in the ring. Give them an excuse. Oh, he's fighting up to the. He's gonna fight to the level of his opposition. He couldn't get up for this guy. Now that's the poor excuse.
I think that if we saw Roman Gonzalez against Estrada, we saw Saturday night, then I'd favor Roman. You know, shoot, people thought Roman won that last fight anyway.
I'm one of those people. So I'm favoring Roman Gonzalez right now. I'm going to do it months in advance. Normally, I don't make predictions this far in advance. I'm saying it right now. Chocolatito.
You notice you say that a lot.
Roman Gonzalez. No. I usually do it.
And then when we get closer, you're going to change it. You're going to say, I see Juan Estrada, edging it a little.
No. I'm going with man Chocolatito for that one. Listen, before we get out of here, Barack, one of the hardest punching heavyweights in history. That's right, all-time great Ernie Shavers passes away at 78 years old. So our condolences and prayers to his loved ones.
Let me tell you how powerful being a hard puncher is. You just said all-time great. He has never won a championship, but he has knocked out how many people? What do you have? 68 knockouts out of 74 wins, and he's very, very well known. And I'm sure it was because of the Muhammad Ali fight. He rocked Muhammad Ali during that fight. He went 15 rounds with Muhammad Ali, and that made him famous. Even he attested that made him famous, but because he's such a hard puncher, he became so popular without ever beating Muhammad Ali and winning a title or beating Larry Holmes and winning a title. He lost to both guys. Larry Holmes stopped him, but because he's a power puncher, he will always be remembered, and he's always in the talks, whether he had a strap or not. And power makes you very popular. Look at Jerry Cooney. Now I understand Jerry Cooney was white, and then at that time, he was the great white hope. But that left hook of Jerry's will never be forgotten. So my condolences goes to the family of Ernie Shavers. He's one of the hardest punchers and nicest guys in the sport of boxing.
On that note, that's our show for today. Peace and love. Stay safe. We're out of here.